more powerful about Alex Jones than anything else? It's not the things he says. It's the people he brings on, because he brings people on before they're well known at all. Like, he put Candace Owens on the map, whether she admits it or not. Dan Bongino would not be Dan Bongino had he not gone on the Alex Jones show first. And that's just a fact. And these people could say, they could distance themselves from us and go, well, Alex Jones, I wouldn't say he's a kingmaker, but he puts people on the map to give them a voice, which then allows them to grow. Yeah. It gives them the fuel. It's like that booster that launches them up into orbit. And then from orbit, yeah, they may go somewhere else and do something else, and that's fine. You know, we can't have everybody in the InfoWars stable. But by doing that, he's created a lot more people who talk like him, who think like him, who see reality for what it really is.
We're gonna start right here.
We're rolling, man. We got.
Take as long as you want.
Okay. Well, all right. We got Rob Dew of Infowars. I'm excited.
What's up? Good to see you.
Happy to do this. I'm really pumped about this. You've had a pretty busy couple weeks.
Man, it's been a busy since COVID, I think, started. It's been like this wild train. When I look back and I'm like, oh, we're 4 years into the pandemic. You know, we've officially crossed that line, and 2 weeks to slow the spread was like March of 2020, and now we're like in June of 2024, and it feels like it was like 3 months ago.
Wow.
All the stuff compressed. I got sick really bad in 2021, came through it. Now I feel like, I'm hitting 50. I feel great. And then, we got to deal with this shit. We got to deal with endless, lawyers and lawfare.
So what exactly happened?
With what?
This whole lawsuit.
Okay, with the law.
They're apparently trying to literally weaponize a tragedy that happened 12 years ago in order to take somebody off the air and completely cancel his livelihood and the livelihood of everybody associated with him.
Well, what's amazing, I think, in the whole watching all these other lawfare things happen, and including ours, is it seems like the rules of the court don't apply if you're a conservative, because they have things called statute of limitations.
Yes.
Okay. Doesn't apply in our case. Doesn't apply in Trump's case.
Well, actually, I want to backtrack on that.
Sure.
I don't think it's about being a conservative necessarily, because Julian Assange was not a conservative.
Okay, against the system.
Yes.
You can say against the system.
Yeah, I think that the lawfare occurs for people who are posing direct threats to the system, because Edward Snowden was not a conservative. Ross Ulbright is not a conservative.
True.
And
but they're not systemists. They're not in the system.
Yes.
So
I think that people need to make the distinction. It's not a war against conservatives. It's a war against people who go against the system, and it's either through direct lawfare or through limiting visibility.
I agree with you on that. I think our issue is we defeated Hillary Clinton. And when you defeat Hillary Clinton, people come after you.
Yes, they're suiciding you in a different way.
Yes. And I'll say this. In one of my depositions that they didn't put on the internet, they said, do you have anything you want to say? And I looked at them. I said, none of us would be here had Hillary Clinton won the presidency. And I got up and walked out. And they didn't say anything to that. They didn't challenge. I guess they were just letting me blow some steam off. But I firmly believe had Hillary Clinton won, none of this would have happened, because the original lawsuits didn't get filed till 2018.
Yes. And apparently, and I saw a lot of Alex's old movies, saw Zeitgeist, saw the Freedom to Combat Fascism, saw the Obama Deception, saw a lot of that stuff, had an idea about what was going on. But for a while I was kind of checked out, and I just said, okay, well, just don't trust any mainstream narratives and don't ever take guns away from people no matter what the tragedy is, was kind of my viewpoint.
Yeah.
And it felt like he made some stuff about Sandy Hook. And I guess we could agree that a lot of the information he got was bad information. But none of it didn't seem like it was done with malicious intent. And there were a lot of other more malicious actors like Wolfgang something or whatever and other people that were a lot more prominent critics of the Sandy Hook and spoke about Sandy Hook a lot more frequently. Those guys never really got targeted. And also, the Sandy Hook stuff kind of went away for years. And the fact that it just all of a sudden decides to resurface 2 years after Trump becomes president, does not smell right.
Well, it actually resurfaced in 2016.
Oh, okay.
Hillary Clinton brought it up during his campaign speech, and she attacked Jones by name, saying Trump went on his podcast. He believes 9/11 was an inside job, and then she says her little line about Sandy Hook. And if you go back to 2013 when Alex Jones went on Piers Morgan's show. I was there. I went with Alex. I was the only one traveling with Alex at the time. We went up to New York City. He's on Piers Morgan, January of 2013. And Piers gets him in there and then starts asking him about what kind of guns, this and that. There was no question at all whether Alex Jones had whether he believed the narrative or not, whatever was out there. That was not even brought up on the table. It was all about guns. It was all about guns. And if you would think if Piers Morgan, such a great consummate journalist from the UK, had thought that Alex Jones believed that this event didn't happen or that something was wrong with it, that's what he would have attacked him on, right?
Well, he would have done that first.
He would have done that right out of the gates.
Right out of the gate.
You can watch it. It's still on CNN.
Yeah.
You can go watch that whole 3 segments. I think he did 2.5 segments. I don't think they brought him. Or no, he did 2 segments and they kicked him off for the third one.
Okay.
They just ended it early. Not brought up one time. It's all about guns and how bad guns are and what guns do. And that's why you got that Hitler took the guns, Stalin took the guns, Mao took the guns.
Yeah.
That whole line became, because that's what it was about. It was about guns. It was never about anything else. That's what we were covering, and that's what we covered for a long time.
Well, absolutely. And, in Australia pretty much did some of the most radical gun control measures ever in the 1990s, and it turned into an open-air prison as a result of COVID, and they were literally putting people in camps for not wanting to get a vaccine.
And making
for
them,
not,
there's video of a lady standing on a porch, and they're like, go back in your house. She's like, I'm on my porch of my little prison camp. And they're like, no, get back in. Go back in.
And the fact that you could advocate for this and call yourself an anti-fascist is laughable.
Totally.
Laughable.
Totally. But that's how the mind control has worked in a way that they were able to brainwash people into thinking a guy nobody cared about or that thought was funny, Donald Trump, for the longest time, is now suddenly the greatest threat to democracy. How did that happen? He hadn't been a politician for 40 years like Biden or Chucky Schumer or Nancy Pelosi. First office he ran for was presidency, and he won. But suddenly he's the greatest threat to democracy, and that's what they're bringing back up again. Oh, he's gonna, and now they're putting out articles where they're saying we're not even a republic anymore. We are a democracy, and anyone who says we're a republic is trying to throw disinformation at you. When we're a constitutional republic from the ground up, that's what our forefathers said we were, and that's it's a limited democracy. It's not 2 wolves and a sheep voting for dinner.
Yes, but you also have a guy who, by and large, is a lot better of a choice than Hillary Clinton or Joe Biden or any of these other neoliberal politicians. But he also is very good at putting his foot in his mouth and saying things that could get very easily taken out of context.
Totally.
And people are running with that. And then you also have these psyops where actual Nazis and white supremacists like Richard Spencer or David Duke, I think in 2016. And even like people like Nick Fuentes will openly endorse Donald Trump. And during the presidency, these people do have large followings. Trump has to be very careful because he needs as many votes as he can get. And then the media will just say, look at all these Nazis endorsing Trump. So Trump is associated with these people by default. And I think that's
right.
Another component that just doesn't get brought up or talked about.
But you can find even other videos of other like white supremacists, neo-Nazis wearing swastikas saying they were going for Hillary and they were going for Biden. In 2020, there was this guy, I don't even know his name, but you can find the video. He's in his Nazi regalia with his Nazi troops
Laura
behind
Loomer did
him.
that one. It was Laura Loomer's video where he's talking about Hail Azov Battalion and all that.
Exactly. And he was like, I'm for Joe Biden because he thought, he knew Joe Biden was going to support the Ukrainians for endless amounts of money, which he's doing.
Even Nick Fuentes has been lately criticizing Trump and saying that we don't want to elect Trump because
he's gone after him for his
because of Israel.
For Israel, yeah. He said if he's for Israel or something, he said something on a balcony, and I saw that. And hey, that's his right to even say that too. I think it's to hold Trump to, hey, America first. I think that's what he's doing. He's trying to say you have to be America first, period, without any but we're going to help these guys and we're going to help these guys and we're going to help these guys whenever they call for us. I say no more help in other countries. No other countries are helping us. I say bring all the troops home. Get them working here. Hey, if you're in the Army and you're not doing anything, go fill some potholes. Make the infrastructure better. We have all these infrastructure money, but I don't see any infrastructure getting built. That's the problem.
No, absolutely. But I agree with what you said. What you said is true. Okay, there's no argument about that, right? Like, regardless of how you stand on a political issue or who you think might be right in a conflict, if it has nothing to do with you, you should not be spending money on it you should not be spending money on the conflict, because all it's going to do is make people not want to support you.
Right.
That's the obvious conclusion. I think that if Israel turns into Ukraine 2.0, and so far it hasn't, but if it does, it's going to create more anti-Semitism, more Jew hatred, more all that stuff.
And we're literally funding both sides.
And we are. But that's the problem.
Really?
That's the problem, is that people like Joe Biden, if you want to end the wars, you don't fund Hamas. You don't give aid to the Palestinians, because that's what it's going to. That's what it's going to go. It's going to go right to Hamas. Yeah. It's going to justify more killing. It's going to cause more refugees. Those refugees come to America. That you create populist uprisings all throughout the Middle East. It creates which then threatens Israel even more. Makes us have to send them more money. And then the migrants go to Europe, and then Europe turns into an Islamic caliphate. Now you got to worry about rockets getting launched at you from France and from Ireland and from England and from Italy, and it makes the problem a lot worse. And so the solution really is just no foreign aid for anybody, and let the strongest people and the people who are correct win out. And if you want to support a cause, and if you want to support Israel, you can do that privately.
Well, and you can't
If
get
that makes
involved.
sense.
You can't get involved in every freaking conflict that's going on in the world. But it is interesting. Putin didn't invade Ukraine unless it was, Obama or Biden. He didn't invade during Trump. He didn't invade during George Bush, who was a loser too.
George Bush is the worst.
Yeah, totally. And I think this is the interesting part. George Bush gets in, and people. I think all sides were like, oh, yeah, this guy's, especially after 9/11, when he was launching wars for no reason. And, his neocon buddies got in. They used 9/11, which I think was totally helped and encouraged by lots of people within our government, bad actors all through our government. They let these guys in. They trained them at the U.S. bases. Whether they even did this, I don't
Project
believe
for a
they
New
could
American Century.
Sure.
A record number of put options were placed on the airline companies. That's all public
All
information.
that. And then
Marvin
but all those
Bush got the greatest insurance settlement of all time.
There you go.
We got the Patriot right away.
But we don't get any of those investigations. No. We got to investigate Trump, and we got to investigate.
No, you have to
all this other
investigate
stuff.
Alex Jones for something that he said 10 years ago to get him off the air, so that alternative voices are no longer allowed or tolerated in media.
You know what's more powerful about Alex Jones than anything else? It's not the things he says. It's the people he brings on, because he brings people on before they're well known at all. Like, he put Candace Owens on the map, whether she admits it or not. Dan Bongino would not be Dan Bongino had he not gone on the Alex Jones show first. And that's just a fact. And these people could say, they could distance themselves from us and go, well, Alex Jones, I wouldn't say he's a kingmaker, but he puts people on the map to give them a voice, which then allows them to grow.
Yeah.
It gives them the fuel. It's like that booster that launches them up into orbit. And then from orbit, they may go somewhere else and do something else, but then that's fine. We can't have everybody in the Infowars stable. But by doing that, he's created a lot more people who talk like him, who think like him, who see reality for what it really is.
Well, and the thing about Jones, what's dangerous about this is that and I could be wrong on this, right? But based on what I was listening to in the Twitter space and based on the research on this, right, you question a narrative like Sandy Hook, right? Because there are certain things about that narrative that don't fully, when somebody's shooting 20 kindergartners, when Adam Lanza shoots 20 kindergartners in an election year, that's odd, right? And then you've heard stories. You always hear stories about multiple shooters, or you hear stories about different things, and it's not even a conspiracy theory. It's a known fact that a lot of these people go into these 4chan chat rooms and get very radicalized by certain fringe groups on the internet.
Or they put stuff out there that's not true to be picked up on by people.
And you have a lot of federal agents and deep state operatives who go into these chat rooms in order to try and convince somebody to do a terrorist attack. And then once that terrorist attack occurs, then it's an excuse to clamp down on more civil liberties, and then also blame alternative media sources or independent media to scapegoat them for doing this.
Right.
And so,
because they don't want an alternative narrative.
Exactly, yes. And so then if you can use that as a pretext to get these alternative narratives to be quiet, then all of a sudden, let's say I have a different viewpoint on something, or start questioning a narrative, all of a sudden, maybe somebody goes into a chat room and starts saying, hey, this Alex Stranger guy, man, he's right. These people, look at what he said. This is what we need to do this. We need to take direct action. We need to, we need to let these people know what's going on and do all this other stuff. And you just create this Fed posting, which will ultimately cause more and more independent voices to just start being silenced.
Or they find the one thing that you didn't get right, and they amplify that as a big thing. Oh, look at this. Look at what he said. Look at what he said. And then all of a sudden it turns out that you weren't right, or you got some part of it wrong. And they're like, oh, now we can't trust this guy. So it's a way to attack people from both ways, either amplifying something that they said wrong and then coming back and attacking them, or just attacking them outright as being disinformation, and you get all these sock puppet accounts attacking you.
But we're also falling into this trap too because we live in this hyper clickbait culture.
Yeah.
And everything is on the internet. And a lot of times people will break news stories, and it's more important to be first than to be correct.
Yeah,
and
that's
we
that's
saw
true.
a lot of this with Israel and like some of the bombings in Rafah and all this other, not Rafah, but like the hospital bombings, and it turns out like some of that stuff wasn't true, and then everybody runs with the story, and it winds up being totally
Or the beheaded babies, and
yeah, a lot of the stuff, right? But a lot of the stories that you hear from the Middle East, people run with it before verifying or understanding what's happening.
Well, and how do you verify a lot of this stuff? You don't speak the language.
It's almost impossible to.
Right.
But then all of a sudden now you just get a paradigm of false information everywhere that becomes accepted as fact. And so I
want to go back to that Spaces real quick before we move on from that, because people need to listen to that. Millie Weaver, who used to work at InfoWars, came on and brought up a guy, and I forget his name right now, but she brought him up saying this is a guy who showed up at one of these memorials saying he was a relative of these people, and people were interviewing him, and then people started looking into him like that guy's not related to him. And so that was one of the things that started a lot of the questioning about whether the event, might have happened or not. And then also a guy called in claiming he was listed on this lawsuit in Connecticut, the Connecticut lawsuit. He was on the lawsuit, and then they removed his name once they figured out there was really no there, but they tried to, this is what this guy said too. I don't know if any of this is true or not. I haven't verified any of it, but he came on and said he was listed in the lawsuit. They said he was in a marketing scheme with Alex Jones to market Sandy Hook. And then all of a sudden they remove his name and a few others off the lawsuit, which should have removed the jurisdiction of Connecticut from that lawsuit. But, magically the judge says, no, everything's fine. We keep going. So that's another way that I think that there's a lot of holes in this whole lawsuit lawfare thing, is they don't even have jurisdiction to have that lawsuit that got over $1 billion.
And then you also have James O'Keefe breaking stories a few months ago about how people who are associated with the FBI and CIA saying that they were encouraging the families to go press this big lawsuit. And now the families are basically not refusing to accept any amount of money because the ultimate goal is silencing people like Jones and anybody else from being on the air. But and I think that becomes that's a glaring problem. The positive, right? Because there's always a positive. Because if they weren't doing this, they're only doing this because they feel threatened. Yeah. They feel threatened because they're losing their grip. It means that we're winning. Yeah. Well, it means humanity's winning. It means independent media. It means real journalism is going to make a comeback. Real enlightenment is going to make a comeback. We're entering like the age of Aquarius. It's like it's astrologically kind of proven. If you learn more about that, which I need to, all of that stuff. So we're moving towards this. We're moving towards this age of enlightenment, regardless of whether or not the existing power structures like it or not. I don't think you can stop nature or God. And this is happening, but these people are going to do everything they can to keep their hold, to preserve their hold on power. But at this point, everybody is Alex Jones. Alex Jones already exposed a lot of stuff that's happened, and now a lot of the stuff that Alex said has become mainstream thought.
Yes.
And the mountain and the snowball has gotten so big that there are going to be a million other people that wind up taking Alex's place.
Yep.
Alex, for all intents and purposes, could be exhausted from doing this. And
he is. Yeah. He's a tired man.
He could be exhausted from doing this. So if, God forbid, InfoWars no longer exists, okay, that's awful. But then Alex gets to just live the rest of his life in peace and kind of retire and just be Splinter from Ninja Turtles, and just groom his next help nurture his next disciples. And you have people like Harrison and Owen and you and everybody else that are going to go on and become even bigger and bigger.
Well, me and Alex are the same age, so I don't know how far I'm going.
Sure, but a lot of people are going to just continue amplifying and running with this.
Yeah, I think so. I liken it like this: we're on the football field, and we're lateraling the ball like the last play of the game. Yeah, and humanity's got the ball. Team Humanity's got the ball, and we're against the New World Order, and we're lateraling it, and they can't tackle us. They're trying. They may take out and injure like our best players on the field, but the ball is still in our hands, and we still have control, and we can still win. All we have to do is not stop. We just can't stop.
Well,
fighting.
We cannot defeat ourselves, and we are.
And that too.
And I think that's what the big psyop is we're fighting with each other over
totally.
And bullshit and stupidity, and I want to get into that.
People get bored.
Yeah, and this is and people are. You're seeing a lot of people doing this for the wrong reasons, and people are doing this because they want fame and recognition and props and clout, and it's just becoming like the mainstream alternative media. David Icke is he's correct, but not fully correct. If that makes sense.
Well, David Icke's eyes, I think he thinks everybody
is mainstream alternative.
Yeah, no. Well, they're in that clique, and they're not all doing it for the right reasons. I think
he's correct. A lot of people are not doing it.
I agree.
A lot of people.
There's a market, and when a market, people feel the market, whether they got good intentions or not.
It's the conspiracy theory industrial complex is kind of what this is becoming. The Alex Jones industrial complex is what it is. It's what it is. Everybody, it's the Alex Jones industrial complex. But what I was saying, with regards to this, is that like, okay, well, how do we play chess and think 5 moves ahead, right? So what happens if, like, apparently Alex is saved, right? Infowars still exists. Alex's personal finances are liquidated, but Infowars is still functioning as a company. So first question, how is Infowars even still being able to function when Alex has no money?
So one reason we're still around is he took a lot of his money and kept pouring it back into the company when things were going bad. Because we had a lot of different, when these bankruptcies were declared, things happened. And he's talked a lot about this on air, but he sold a second house that he bought that he, I think he over doubled his money and he put that back into the company. We did have a whale donate about $9 million in Bitcoin.
Oh, that's good.
And that was great.
Talk about Bitcoin a little bit later.
Yeah, and this happened a couple years ago. And we took that and put it in because we put a little Bitcoin thing on there, and boom, it's like you put the lure out, you put the piece of bait out, and people go, hey, well, I have some Bitcoin, I'm gonna give to Alex.
So Here's the problem too. I said this to Owen when I was live streaming at the anti-Israel protests. Yeah. And I said, well, why don't you accept Bitcoin at the Infowars store?
Well, I think that takes a whole. I don't know what kind of infrastructure that takes. So that's
you
not
literally
my
set up a wallet, and that Austin's like the Bitcoin hub in America. It's like pretty much become the Bitcoin hub in the U.S. You can go to Pleb Lab on 8th and Brazos, and you can go to like Unchained. You can go to the Bitcoin Commons, which is right here in downtown. And there are a lot of people in these offices that would probably be happy to
buy things in Bitcoin.
Yeah, to help pay in Bitcoin and help Alex or help you guys set something up. And also, a lot of people don't want to buy things from the store because what if the database gets hacked?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, what if the database gets hacked and now all of a sudden now they know that you bought TurboForce, that you bought Super Male Vitality, that you bought these products? Like, people are not going to feel comfortable doing that.
Oh no, someone's got Vitality.
Still, dude, people are not.
It stays up all night.
Yeah, I know. Boom. People are not going to feel. Well, also the globalists don't want you having children and reproducing and having a healthy sex life. Yeah. Which is another thing. But like, I just think. Sorry,
hey man, you can't live life in fear. That's
right.
all I gotta say.
No, but
you can't live life in
I'm
fear.
just saying that people. I think it would help with business and make people more comfortable supporting the store if they could do it anonymously or pseudonymously.
Well, so I don't know how, because you have to ship it to somewhere. You have to ship it to somebody. Maybe, and so I don't know all the particulars of that. Now I do know. Now it's Alex's company. There's it's back in his hands, but they have a trustee kind of over Alex because of his personal bankruptcy.
Yeah.
So there's more freedom that can happen in that regard. And I think that is something we could approach. We do have a Bitcoin donation little symbol on the website, which we've had since we put it up.
Well, that's good.
I think in 2021.
Okay, and you guys have good people that understand how that are keeping it, that are custodying it safely and able to move funds in and out.
Well, I don't know how much we've gotten since then.
And you shouldn't share that. You shouldn't share that. But I'm just wondering, do you have people on staff who are familiar with how to actually move the product? Like, is it on a hot wallet? Is it on cold storage?
I can't. I have no idea.
That's something that
I
should
can't answer that.
Well, it should be. It should. Whether you can answer it or not, just between me and you as friends.
Between me and you and the podcast.
Yeah, yeah. It's something that I think it's good to bring up so that there could be more learning about it.
Right. And I think we're at the position now where we could do stuff like that, where for the last almost 2 years, because of the 2 different CROs we've had under the company, and they were only doing things their way. There's certain things you could do, certain things you couldn't do. But now that is kind of opened up. It's a weird season of until these plaintiffs decide to make their whatever move they're going to make. We're running and gunning. We're doing our thing. And so Infowars is back. I don't know for how long.
Okay. Another really positive thing I've noticed is that the Texas statewide elections have been really good for people like us.
You think so?
Have you followed?
I do know that a lot of the people that went against Ken Paxton were defeated.
Yes.
But honestly, I look at Austin, and to me, Austin is not like the rest of Texas, as we know. And Austin, they've just relished in being a shithole country. Is what I.
Austin's relish in being a shithole country largely because the GOP leadership cares more about complaining and grifting rather than actually fixing very fixable problems. Because Austin is also not as woke as our governing body is. If Alex Jones were to walk around Austin and go to Barton Springs, he's mobbed by fans.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
But you would never know that based on who is on our city council.
Right. Exactly. I think there's only one person on. She's from the north.
Yeah, Mackenzie Kelly.
Mackenzie Kelly.
She's very nice, but she's also.
She's not perfect. Nobody's going to be perfect. That's what we got to understand. Nobody's going to be right on every issue that you think. And so it's our job to educate these people. People come up to Alex all the time with information. They want to change, they want to change his mind on something. So you have to do that. You have to be rabid like that with these other people. Obviously, you're not going to change these communists and Marxists that are out there. You're not going to change them because they're dedicated to that ideology because they think everything should be free and diverse.
Yes.
But you got Mackenzie Kelly. You got to get someone else in. You got to get 2 or 3 more people in. So then you at least get normal. We literally brought the guy back in for mayor who set up a bank account and ran a bank for a while that was basically just taking people's land here in Austin.
What, Adler?
No,
Adler and Watson too.
Kirk Watson.
Well, Adler's an MMA
Adler,
too,
yeah. Adler was like a lawyer who's just basically the developers run Austin because this was such a small town for such a long time. I mean, when I got here in '98, and you used to be able to park behind City Hall for free and walk downtown. Okay, you're not doing that anymore.
Watson fucking hates me.
Well,
he fucking hates me, dude.
I saw him one time at the airport, and I go, Kirk Watson, common criminal, and just walked right past him, and he looked at me like, who the fuck are you?
He's got his head so far up his ass, it's unbelievable. At least Adler, he ruined Austin, but at least Adler was a good sport, and at least Adler was a good sport.
He hit up in his apartment.
But when I went to the meetings and when I made fun of him and did all that stuff, he didn't get he kept his poker face.
Oh, okay. In that case,
yeah, he was a good sport. He kept his poker face.
I mean, he basically it's been a series. Will win. All these guys have been people who have just lined up to go, hey, who can we sell out to? And it's this whole city has been run by developers.
Well, yeah.
Who you would think the developers would want to have a clean town and not have homeless walking around everywhere.
No.
Now, it's better than it was in 2020.
That's actually not true because if you were sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Oh, they want to lower the property value.
Yes,
it's RoboCop. It's RoboCop.
Yeah, you want to actually especially with 15-minute cities,
right?
And the Agenda 2030 sustainability goals. No, you actually want to lower the property values and be able to have a complete monopoly on the housing market and everything is a high rise.
Right.
Everything's a tower.
They're building coffin apartments right over here. Those look nice. There's coffin apartments over there. They built a small little Target. So the coffin apartment.
And there's a lot of money housing illegals too. That's the other thing too. There's a lot of money to house illegals. And no matter whether Trump gets in or not, I think he will. But whether he gets in or not. You can't deport that many people. They gotta go somewhere. Those developers are gonna make fucking bank because it's gonna get subsidized, whether by maybe not federally because of Trump, or maybe it will because they'll sneak that in for some other national defense spending that Trump is gonna sign anyway.
I think if you're not here with a family, you get deported.
Yeah, or
if you have a family, if you have a wife and some kids. I'd say, hey, you know what? We can repatriate you. We can teach you how to be an American. But
sure.
I think these people need to be assigned a host family. I think every immigrant that comes in needs to have a host family, for one, to teach people how to be Americans.
Dude,
whether it's good or bad. And the other thing is, if you're a single dude, get the fuck out of this country. Go back to your country, make your country better. That's what you need to be doing, not sucking off our country.
Well, it's not even that. It's these people are being weaponized, right? It's like when you're a 21-year-old military-aged man from Somalia coming in through the southern border, that doesn't smell right. You gotta go.
And if you, well, I say that for any country. Yeah. But if you're here with a family, so we went down to San Antonio when all the Haitians were coming in.
Yeah.
I met a Haitian guy. He was a dock worker. He worked on crane. He knows how to do cranes. He's got his wife and his kid with him. I say, let that guy come in. Let that guy come in. Give him asylum. Let him have a job because he's there. He's not there to screw the system and to suck off of it. He wants to better his life. And I think everybody that comes here probably wants to better their life. I'd say 90% of them. 10% hate this country and want to destroy it. But if you're not here with a family, if you don't have stake in the game, get the fuck back to your country.
Wow.
And I do hope he deports these people. But here's the sad thing. We've been talking about FEMA camps for a long time on InfoWars. That's what they're going to be using. They're going to round people up and put them in FEMA camps and then deport them. But you know what? The government already built these camps. You can go down to South Texas. You can see football fields, multi-football field size camps that they're going to put people in and then start deporting them.
Potentially. Or when World War III happened.
Oh, we're gonna put them on the front lines.
Well,
Yeah, well,
no,
hey, we've done it before.
We've talked. Okay, look, you've had senators and congressmen openly talk about how the illegal aliens should go and serve in the military
Sure,
to get
give them
citizenship.
2 years and they get citizenship.
Okay,
Yeah.
and then
we've been doing that for a long time,
They become your cops,
right?
and then and then all of a sudden the next virus or next thing happens, and you got to have your digital ID to go places.
Sure,
and XYZ,
and they follow the law.
and they will follow the law because they are eternally grateful to having a better life and live in a better country.
Yeah,
and then those camps that were supposed to be for the illegal immigrants are really for you.
and that could be true too. But the camps are already built. Camps are already there.
They're built, but and a lot of conservatives might say, "Oh, well, they're for the illegals to help make us safer." I'm like, no, the Patriot Act was to stop terrorism. Look how that worked out. Let's read between the lines.
Don't
and be
get on
critical.
a bus. Don't get on a train. That's my advice.
That's what I yes. That's what I'm saying.
Own a bike.
Ride
know
a
how to
pedicab.
pedal it.
Take a pedicab, bro. That's what it is.
Know how to pedal it.
Exactly. But I think that. I think that these are the issues that we got to talk about, right?
Yeah.
And that's these are the possibilities, that could potentially start occurring if a certain set of factors start coming into play. What are you worried about happening the next few months?
I hope we don't have any type of limited nuclear exchange, because I think once that gets back on the table, it's easier for it to happen again. So that's one thing.
Okay.
The other thing I'm worried about is the prices of everything are going, way too high. I make decent money. My wife also works, and I can't imagine somebody not making the money that I'm making and surviving.
Well,
and I'm not making a lot of money, but I'm making enough to survive and live comfortably.
So, a couple things to that.
Yeah.
Right. One, Bitcoin fixes that.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. It fixes that. And we now have the systems and the infrastructure to be able to opt out of this very peacefully.
Yes.
And there is an escape hatch. And because of people like Alex Jones recognizing a lot of the problems, other people have been quietly developing solutions.
Right.
So there's that, which is yay, positive, golf clap, amazing. Okay, good. All right. Also, I actually think that prices are going to go down these next few months.
You think so?
I know so. You want to know why?
Tell me.
Because Joe Biden and then this entire administration has been talking with the CEOs of a lot of big major retail outlets, like Target, Amazon, Walmart,
so they
grocery
let them fleece
stores
us for a while. Now it's roll back prices.
Hey guys, we need you to roll back these prices these next few months, and they're probably going to promise them some kind of a deal and like whatever the next stimulus package is.
Yeah.
Or they say, well, we'll audit you for not paying taxes, and we'll utilize the resources of the federal government.
Those IRS agents are for us. They're not for the big corporations.
Well, they are for whoever. They are for the system. Okay, and part of keeping that system in power as it is to make sure that you don't get any. You keep this New World Order president puppet in office. Okay,
right.
So that is one theory that I'm thinking of, and I'm thinking that prices are actually going to go down these next few months because of artificial price manipulation.
Okay.
And then they'll get that money back. They'll get the money later on the back end.
So
with
this morning,
the
price of gas was $3.19. Last week, it was like $2.89. So it's going up right now.
Price always goes up a little bit during the summer, but I would not be surprised if when the CPI reports come out, the CPI, mark my words, will tick lower and lower and lower and lower incrementally. These next few months, you might get close to 2% interest rates. Maybe they start talking about rate cuts. Maybe the market.
That's not happening.
You never know. I'm talking about a possibility that no one's thinking about.
Right.
Okay?
Well,
and we should be prepared for all possibilities.
Right now, is that we're at 7.25?
What, inflation?
Yeah.
No, inflation's
no. I'm talking about the interest rates.
No, it's like 5.5 or something. Oh, I think it's like it's 7 for how?
Yeah,
okay,
for
bonds for T-bills is like it's like 5 or something.
Okay.
But I could see inflation artificially ticking down lower. So everyday normal people think everything's fine. They're less angry. They're less likely. They may be
less likely to vote.
Yeah. So I see that happening. Okay.
You've got to work quick.
Okay, well, they are. That's why they're telling these companies to start cutting prices in June and July.
Okay.
So you might see some prices. You'll see. You could potentially see prices start dropping in the summer. Right.
And that's the price of eggs.
Fine. We'll see all that stuff. Also, Biden is going to continue draining the SPR, which could potentially have an effect on gas. Maybe not, but it could.
There's not much left to drain.
Okay, but there's still some.
Yeah.
There might be enough for the next couple of months.
This seems too complex for the Democrats to pull off. Get all these people.
No, it's actually not complex at all because the Democrats are just mouthpieces for other people telling them what to do. Okay? So that's one.
I mean, they can't have a cookout.
Okay.
They can't put. Did you see
Sure.
the picture?
Oh,
of
I saw
Schumer?
the. Yeah,
That's
yeah.
disgusting.
Total psyop though. Total psyop. Good.
Because he's a lizard.
And
we
you know
know.
what? And you know what it also means? It means that these people don't actually make decisions for us. Because if you can't cook meat on a grill properly, you're not even the one legislating. It's somebody else telling you what to do.
I agree.
Okay. So that's all it says, that you just don't.
That's why he's still in office.
That's why they're all still in office.
Yeah.
The other thing, and I'm trying to remember what the other okay, the other thing too is the Bitcoin stuff, right? And we were talking about this earlier pre-show, and you know, the Democrats have been very, very anti-Bitcoin, anti-crypto, et cetera, right? And Bitcoin isn't crypto. Every other cryptocurrency is a scam. It's an affinity scam. It's not real, right? But
Why are people buying Ethereum? People always say buy Ethereum.
don't buy that fucking shit. Ethereum is going to be the infrastructure for creating central bank digital currencies.
Okay.
You might make some nominal gains like in the next couple years or next year or so like that.
Right.
But if you want to opt out of the system and use better money, it's a distraction.
Okay.
Okay. Not financial advice, but I wouldn't do it. Okay. But you know, Joe Biden, like Trump, has all of a sudden said, "Hey, we're embracing Bitcoin. You know, we're going to make Bitcoin made in America and all this other stuff." Is having meetings with the mining companies.
Yeah.
Coming out as ultra pro Bitcoin, taking the orange pill to the max. And granted, the idea of all Bitcoin being made in America kind of defeats the purpose of it because it's supposed to be decentralized, made all over the place. But when you're saying that, you start getting other countries to say, no, we're going to get better Bitcoin policies than you. And then game theory actually trumps conspiracy theory. And so then the need for so the utilization and the utility factor of repressive governments winds up actually diminishing, and governments become less involved and more hands off, and you get freedom and liberty by proxy, because ultimately this better money, it can't really be stopped. And in order for these governments to attain relevancy, they have to embrace this technology or they will die, because people will just leave these areas, not contribute to any tax bases. The places that they live will become third world shitholes. And even these government officials, they need a functioning, productive economy so they can live a lavish lifestyle. There's no use. There's no use being the king of a rat infested shithole. Eventually, like, you still need to have nice things so that you can actually enjoy being the king. I mean, that's it's like being the prom king. No, look, it's like being the
destroy everything.
Well, they're not. That's why I think that's why I'm bullish on humans. Is what I'm trying to say. But it's like being the prom king. Imagine like going to high school and being the prom king, right? How cool would that be? But like everyone in your school has Down syndrome.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's one thing. And the last thing. Sorry, I'm monopolizing this, right? Last thing.
In the land of the Downies, Corky is king.
Yes. So the last
no
thing,
one will even know what that means.
the last thing is that they're having these presidential debates on 2 months before the convention.
Yeah.
And there's
That's
only
to
one.
get rid of Biden.
No shit. Okay, so that's what's gonna happen. There's not gonna be. I don't think there's gonna be like a World War III or a new bird flu or any other stupid thing like that. What's gonna happen is that you'll probably see prices appear to go down. You'll have the illusion of a better economy.
Yeah.
You'll hopefully, if they're smart, the Bitcoiners and the crypto folks or the crypto bros will direct less resources to getting rid of Joe Biden, because that's a lobby that has a lot of money. And you'll have a new president. You'll have a new candidate from July or August that actually can make Biden's awful ideas become more palatable to the everyday American public. And then on the back end, you have people who are conservatives arguing about the Jews and obsessing over this Lily Gaddis chick, who I'm sure is very nice and I have a very pleasant conversation with, and she'd probably love my rap songs. But you have, these conservatives on Twitter just turning into a sewing circle or a gossip column that's no different from like Vanderpump Rules on Bravo. And I think that if you want to talk about a psyop, that is the psyop, but it's a boring psyop that nobody wants to talk about.
Okay. I don't think.
My thoughts.
I like that. I like a lot of what you said, but I don't think prices are going down. I think they're going to continue to either stay where they're at, artificially high, or go up. 2, I think these people are invested in killing our energy sector, so they're going to keep doing that. They think that the world can run on batteries and sunshine and windmill farts, and it can't.
Yes.
It can't do that. It just doesn't work. We have to have cheap power. If you don't have cheap power, you don't have a functioning economy.
I agree with you. And they're going to dial back on this stuff these next few months because they know that the general public agrees with you, and they still need to hide that temporarily.
Well, if you look at the polls, most people don't give a shit about climate change. So I agree. The people don't care. These people wanting to push this want to push climate change. They also want to push bird flu. Deborah Birx is running around on network TV saying we gotta fucking PCR test every cattle every week. That is fucking ridiculously retarded. It's one of the most retarded things I've ever heard a person say, because there's like, I don't know, 50 million cattle in the United States, and you can't fucking test them all each week. And she's going to say, oh, this is what we're going to do. So we're going to have these army of PCR testers running around sticking Q-tips up cows' noses or butts, wherever they do. And then, of course, finding bird flu. Because why? Because they feed these cattle chicken shit, which maybe some of these birds have the flu. And so the cow eats the chicken shit, and he might have a little bird flu running around in him. But you know what fucking bird flu is? You're right. It is a bullshit thing. You know what people have been getting? Oh, pink eye, conjunctivitis. That's what they're getting with this horrible bird flu. And they might get a cough.
Wow.
So it's not anything to be scared about. That's for one thing. So people, when they start trying to pull this shit, which they are going to do going into the fall, start pushing bird flu shit, is do not comply. Tell these people they're fucking retarded, get in their face and say, fuck you. I'm not going to listen to you.
Well, so here's the thing with the bird flu stuff, right?
In a nice way. Nice and polite.
Yes. Okay. The couple points, right? So I don't think that they're going to be doing lockdowns over bird flu. What's going to happen is you're just going to limit the supply of actual meat and drive the cost of meat up through the roof, and then they're going to push you to start eating bugs and doing all this other stuff.
Right.
But I also don't think that doesn't help Biden leading up to the election. So I just feel like if something like that were to happen, it happens in January in the next term.
Maybe.
That's what I think. I just think it happens. Just mathematically it happens later.
They want to give Trump a shitty economy, so it either fails right before he gets in or right when he gets in.
Well, that's what's going to happen with the rate cut. That's another reason why they're artificially going to lower the prices, because then Powell says we're going to cut rates, and when the cutting starts, the markets and everything starts tanking, and then we're arguing with each other over bullshit that has no relevance to the real world.
Right.
We're not
he's
unified.
Only doing one rate cut this year. That's
people,
what he said.
you know what? A lot of times people say things, and then data changes, and then markets change as a result of data.
He said he was going to cut one earlier in the year, and he didn't.
Yeah.
Do it.
So a lot of that is take it all with a grain of salt.
Right. He has said. But right now the rates are high. You can't afford a house. The house prices are way artificially too high. The property taxes are fucking insane. So the middle class is getting hit in a lot of areas that, you know, an apartment dweller isn't aware of unless their rent starts going up because their property tax values are going up.
Which
and they
is
don't quite
happen.
see the correlation about that. But
well, and I think like educating this in a way that's palatable is the key to fixing this. When we sit around arguing on Twitter about the Jews, lack of a better reference point, I don't think that really gets normies to like recognize the seriousness of that. If that makes sense.
I'll tell you something, and you know, I don't wade into the Jew debate.
Well, good, because it's retarded.
But it is. But the most popular tweet I had when I got my Twitter account back was going, "Holy shit, the NYPD is pulling Jews out of tunnels," and I put a video up early on when this thing, like the night it happened.
Dude, that shit was kind of funny though. I'm not gonna lie, that was kind of funny.
It was wild, and it led to a lot of great memes of you know, tunneling Jews and all this other stuff, which to me is funny.
And I think it's funny. I'm Jewish. I think it's funny. Yeah, I think it's funny. I want to get a shirt that says "Proud Tunnel Digger." You know what I mean? Like, I think it's funny. Like, what up, digger?
I'm a digger.
Yeah, I think that's actually hilarious. I'm not getting angry at any of that stuff. Like, that stuff is hilarious.
You should. It should be funny.
Yeah,
and a lot of people have to learn to laugh at life a little bit more overall, and stop taking ourselves so seriously, and stop pretending like every little thing that happens is the worst thing that could ever happen to you, because it's not. There's a lot of worse things that can, even, you know, had we lost our jobs on Friday, it wouldn't have been the end of the world. We were planning on Friday. We were going to go, hey, we're going to go drink in sorrow, or we're going to drink in celebration on Friday.
And you drank in celebration.
We drank in celebration. You know, and that's great. And, you know, we don't know how many, as long as I've been in InfoWars, it's always been like, we're going to be here forever.
Rob, is there a way to actually support this, like the stat? Because I know like you and Harrison and all the big guys there are going to be fine, right? But like, what about the other Rob? Or what about Thomas? Or what about the camera crew? Or what about like the people that are behind the scenes? Like, is there a way to like create some kind of a GoFundMe or Give Send Go or some kind of donation way to help those people through donations, so that, because you really don't know how like their jobs really are hanging by a thread.
Well,
so how can we help those people?
We've talked about doing that, but I'll tell you this: any of those guys leave InfoWars, they are the best trained, badass audio video people in this city.
Yes,
bar none.
But they have it on the resume, and there's still hatred from the big major company. So how do they parlay that into another job?
Well, I think all they have to do is show their skills. Everybody at InfoWars knows how to edit video, knows how to set up a camera, knows how to do lighting, knows how to kind of run audio, knows how to use this arena software for all these backgrounds that they're doing.
Okay.
Knows how to make a good thumbnail. Knows how to put stuff out on Twitter with a good headline. Like, there's so many intangible skills that every single person that works in the production department have. They're really not going to have problems, I don't think, finding a job if they have to find a job. But I don't think we're there yet. I mean, we're still celebrating, and I think we're going to be around at least until the election. And I think that's where we need to be.
Okay.
If we make it to the election, victory.
And also, you know what? With this new crop of legislators coming in, there are a good amount of them that are Alex Jones listeners now.
Yes.
Okay.
And,
there are
and he
actual
had a conversation with a senator in backstage when we were at TP Action in Detroit, who's a very up and coming senator, and a big and supports investigations into what's going on with Alex Jones, because he also feels he's getting a wrong.
Yeah, and there should be, like they did this with Kennedy, which is good. With silencing speech, there have to be if there's going to be lawfare against people like Alex or Julian Assange or Snowden, you know what? People think conservatives are soft and they're milquetoast. Yeah, they are. Well, they are, but it's not because they're not loud or because they're quiet about doing things. It's because there's just they don't take direct action to actually fight against the lawfare on an equal basis. The state attorney generals and the state legislators here in Texas, they need to offer protections for independent media to be able to operate without this kind of scrutiny.
Well, but there does need to be there needs to
if
be
that makes sense.
There needs to be some scrutiny, but when it's out of control, like what it is, and when you have, like in Alex's case, this judge who on her Facebook page is wearing Obama shirts and got blue-haired wigs on.
Cool.
I mean, I don't think you're getting a fair trial.
No shit, you're not getting a fair trial. But here we are right now. This is what's happening. What do we do to win the game? You go to your local GOP meetups, right? You go talk to your representatives. You go talk to your senators. You get a camera with you and talk about how you're concerned about how lawfare is affecting conservative or independent media. What can we do legally to help fix this? You be really polite. You be really nice. Like when I would go into the Capitol and talk to senators about the Restrict Act and stuff like that.
Right.
You know, I was very nice. I was very polite. I wasn't rude at all.
No,
I
have
was
to be.
Yeah.
You
film it, you document it, and you put it on social media. And if everybody starts doing that, all of a sudden these people will make decisions because they care more about being liked than having money or even being blackmailed. Most of these people are just guys who just want to be liked.
Well, I think in the
If
local
that makes
level,
sense, yes.
the local level,
Local state,
these guys aren't getting blackmailed as much as when you get to federal. You got to take over your school boards, your county commissioners, your sheriff's offices, and then you go for your local representatives and state senators. But that's the order it's got to work in.
And it's got to be positive. You got to have a positive message to deal with the drag queens and the trannies reading to kids. Okay, fine. We're going to focus on teaching people how to use open source computing.
Right.
You know, it's got to be, you got to
teach kids how to build a mining machine.
Yes,
there's all kinds of things.
yes.
What we have to do is teach kids how to be empowered more than being a parasite. Instead of being a drag on society, teaching kids how to start a business, how to do work. I remember this, and this is a long time ago. In the 90s, I worked at my cousin's pizza joint in the summers. The two guys that worked there, they were two brothers, and their family was pretty rich. They didn't know how to use a fucking broom when I first got there. Okay, I handed him a broom and said, sweep up. He literally started using it like a rake. I'm like, do you know how to broom? You know how to sweep? He's like,
wow.
No. I had to show him how to sweep. Kids need to know these basic things as they go through. These kids were one was out of high school and one was in high school. They need to learn how to do basic stuff. They need to learn how to change a tire on a bike, on a car. They need to learn how to change their oil. They need to learn how to do these things instead of being a sponge on society.
Here's the other problem too, and it's that we have way more liberal judges and way more liberal lawyers than conservatives.
I don't know how that happens.
No, I know how that happens because
tell me how that
more
happens.
There's more of a priority in big liberal cities to become lawyers than in small conservative towns.
Right.
And there should be, if you're going to have a school board in a smaller conservative town, there should be a way to teach. There should be focused, they should be hyper focused on constitutional law. It should be a mandated class. You get rid of that. You get out of the Texas Association of School Boards, and you start creating classes where you have to learn about the law in order to be able to graduate.
Well,
you know what I mean?
Do high school kids need trigonometry in high school, or do they need to know personal finance?
Yeah,
or personal finance or the law. What do they need to know? They need to know, I think, personal law and personal finance before they need to know trigonometry.
Yo, bro, agree, 100%. And that's got to
make you teach. They make you take trigonometry.
That's got to be the focus. And I think that conservatives or normal people have a historic opportunity of a lifetime to take back their school boards and revamp education in a way that actually educates people.
Yeah.
And in order to do that, you have to be very proactive in coming up with solutions and fight your ass off for solutions instead of being reactionary. And unfortunately, being reactionary is still what gets the clicks, and that's got to be
yelling about books and drag queens.
Yeah,
that's what.
And we've already known about that, and good.
Yeah.
I'm glad that the drag queen stuff came out in the open because now everybody could see that public education is a scam. But guess what? It was a lot more of a scam 20 years ago when no one even knew that it was a scam and people mindlessly trudged through the system. And now look at them. They're fat, they're divorced, they're triple vaccinated, they got diabetes, they're on their second or third marriages, or you're a single mom with like 2 kids with different dads wondering why nobody wants to put a ring on it.
Yeah.
And you're crying in your car over groceries.
Well, I do know this. I learned my multiplication tables up till 12 in the 3rd grade. With the lockdown and all the stuff, my second son, he's in the 6th grade, and I'm sitting there working on his division. And I'm like, look, it's just the inverse of multiplication. He's like, well, I don't know my multiplication. 6th grade, didn't know his multiplication. And I'm like, what? I'm like, how is this even possible? Because I work a lot. And then I'm like, all right, we're going to sit down. And in 2 weeks, I had him all through his multiplication tables.
I made a video at Texas State where I asked a bunch of women to sign a petition to abolish the 19th Amendment in order to end women's suffrage. And I filled this signature sheet up in 10 minutes.
Because they don't even know what that is.
Yeah, and I'm like, well, it's the cause of so many oppressive systems that we're dealing with. And like we're about to go to war with Russia. And it actually is. Should
we let these women vote with their emotions?
We would have a different president if women didn't vote.
Yeah.
But I didn't say, I'm like, well, look at what's going on politically. We're more divided than ever before. We're going to go to war with Russia.
They vote with who makes them feel good. He doesn't do mean tweets.
That's what it is, and that's women in a nutshell.
Yeah, well,
except for my mother-in-law, she's
my
she
girlfriend's
voted for
gotten
Trump.
more conservative. Like, it's so funny because like a lot of times you date women that are like a lot more left-leaning than you when you first meet them.
Yeah,
and then over the course of the long relationship, they become more conservative than you.
Yeah,
and that's how you know you're in a good relationship. They just become way more conservative than you ever were.
My oldest son is more conservative than me, which I like. But he blows me. I mean, he says stuff. I'm like, really? You think that?
You know what's funny?
That's
My girlfriend's stepdad before he passed was like a straight up boomer con.
A boomer con.
Straight up boomer con.
Yeah.
Right. And I used to talk about Hillary Clinton eating babies and adrenochrome and depopulation.
Oh
and
yeah.
Bill Gates
You didn't want to hear that, did he?
Oh no, he thought it was just he just laughed at it.
Oh,
you know,
okay.
like he had a sense of humor about it, but he like just never took it seriously. And I'm just like, bro, wait till if you were only around now, Carrie.
Yeah. Oh, you would see it now.
Yeah, like. I'm like, well, they're eating children. It's called. Have you ever seen John Podesta's artwork? Allegedly,
yeah.
Not making any blanket accusations, but I'm just. It's a
Tony Podesta's artwork
is
is just as bad.
Speculation. Yes,
he has the golden Jeffrey Dahmer statue hanging over his stairwell. At least he did, in a magazine spread.
Oh, I have an idea for a video. You go up to parents.
Yeah.
And you're like, you show pictures, like some of these grotesque pictures you printed up online of like what's in what Tony Podesta has in his art gallery.
Yeah.
And you're like, hey, would you feel comfortable with this guy babysitting your kid?
Nobody would.
Yeah. And you're like, oh, this is actually Tony Podesta's artwork. I mean, he's a.
Well, Tony Podesta wasn't as political as John, but the apple doesn't fall too far from the tree, and both of those guys look like degenerates, and they act like degenerates, and I think that's a lot of the problem. People have been dehumanized in such a way through the culture and through, shitty economies and shit like that, and through just being oppressed, that they become more degenerate. Well, and that's what we're fighting now. People, people will think, oh, well, I should be able to break in and steal that guy's stuff because, I don't have that. I should be able to have that because I see that on TV. Yeah. So why don't I have that?
Also, cultural currency debasement and cultural degeneracy go hand in hand with each other.
Say that again?
Currency debasement and cultural degeneracy go hand in hand with one another. Harrison Smith actually gave me this website. It's called WTF Happened in 1971.
Oh, yeah. That's when we went off the gold standard?
Yeah. Yeah. All of a sudden, abortion got legalized. At
the same time.
Like a year or two later.
Okay.
Yeah. And I think that when people talk about these socio-cultural issues, you got to understand that it's all tied into the money, because if you don't tie it into like using better money, the general populace is going to say, I can't afford to have a kid, and you're going to tell me I have to keep a baby when everything's super expensive. These people don't care about me.
Yeah.
Well, and then you say, no, we need to return to sound money. There are better we need to communicate and educate people on the appropriate off ramp so that you're using better money, so that these problems that you're dealing with are no longer going to affect you. And then once the money improves, the culture improves, and then the idea of having an abortion just becomes actually sickening.
Right.
Because now the need for something like that doesn't exist, because we have better money and a better economy, and now you have a system that's encouraging families. But until you have a system in place for that, you can't argue, you can't win a debate on abortion becomes a losing issue for conservatives, and I think that's a communication thing that we got to be better at. You know?
Sure, and I think a lot of this stuff, a lot of these debates are going to get heightened when the dollar starts collapsing because of the BRICS nations, and when you get 60% of the world economy under a different currency than the dollar, you're going to have big problems. So
well, you're going to have big. Okay, so what's the solution?
Well, you could say Bitcoin.
Well, that is a solution.
But I don't. Is there enough Bitcoin to go?
What do you mean? Is there enough? That's why Bitcoin is so good, because there's not enough, because it's a scarce. It has a limited a supply cap of 21 million, which means that it is automatically inflation proof. Guess what? Governments cannot print more of if the demand is
right. They can't print more Bitcoin, but is there enough to run the world economy the way it is now?
Yeah, you divide it into sats. There's 100 million sats per Bitcoin.
Right.
Yes, there is. And you know what happens? Which is why Bitcoin is better than real estate? Because in Bitcoin terms, the price of a house has actually shrunk spectacularly.
Right. Well,
it just and you know what? Real estate should not be for investing. It should be for living. And the only reason people use real estate as an investable asset, which it really isn't, it actually depreciates and gets worse and worse and worse. And in real terms, it doesn't make sense. The only reason it's an investable asset is because the value of the dollar continues to go down and down and down and down.
It's not worth as much. Well, you can buy for $2,000. Well, for an ounce of gold, you used to be able to buy a suit and a good meal, and now for an ounce of gold, you can still go buy a suit. Yeah,
well, you know what? Gold is also a scam trade, and here's another reason why.
Oh, from biblical times?
No, it's just a scam for where we are. I can explain this.
Explain it.
Okay. Here's why I think gold is kind of like a losing bet. And I have gold, right? And I used to and I'm not trying to shit on anybody for it, right?
I own very little gold, but lots of silver.
Okay, great. I think all of that stuff is sort of a little bit is not a good investment. And the reason being is because gold and even silver are designed to just literally keep up with inflation.
Right.
Okay, so what
I
happens
agree.
if
They don't go crazy.
Well, what happens when you have to sell the gold to make purchases? You have to pay capital gains tax.
Well, not necessarily.
What do you mean?
Depends on how much you got. It depends on how much you're selling.
Explain this.
Well, you go to your local coin shop and you sell your coins.
Yeah.
And they give you money.
No, but they still have to write you they'll still write you a check, right?
A lot of them pay cash. You pay cash for the silver. They sell it to you in cash.
Really? I didn't know. I thought they had to do it in check. Okay, I didn't know that. All right.
I mean, it probably depends on how much. If you're going like $10,000, you're probably not getting $10,000 in cash.
Because where I bought my gold from, they're like, if I were to sell it, they would have to write a check.
Oh, okay.
But I'm sure I could go to another place and see if they'd be willing to do that and sell and exchange it for cash.
Yeah, I mean, when you get into large amounts of money, everything's going to get tracked at some point. But no, with Bitcoin, we know.
Well, Bitcoin can get tracked, but it can also you can also keep your privacy intact depending on how you're using it, which is why educating people on this stuff and going to Bitcoin meetups and being involved in that and learning about this asset is a really good way to kind of escape the tyranny that it's how you literally escape New World Order tyranny. There was a book called The Sovereign Individual, which talked about this in 1997 about how electronic money and the internet and cyberspace is going to eliminate the need for repressive governments.
I agree. Now what happens? Because they're not giving us power, they want us. Everything's going to be solar and battery. And
if a solar flare and something happens, okay, well you can still go.
Then there's no electricity.
Well, then use
Where
guns.
Where are you going to get your Bitcoin?
Well, then what's gold going to do? Like the best currency then is guns and bullets, and also you can still use paper Bitcoin and you can still check and you can still.
Where are you getting paper Bitcoin?
No, you have QR codes with the paper Bitcoin and you can scan the.
Yeah, but how do you scan it? You can't. No electricity. If we're in that, yes, then it is bullets and guns and food.
Yeah, it becomes bullets and guns and foods in any way, and you're going to be using gold to make gold and bullets regardless. And you know what? If a big solar flare like that happens, then there is no New World Order anyway because they can't digitally surveil you. So if that winds up happening and we just go to the Stone Age, there is no New World Order regardless.
There you go.
All right? And eventually, if they want to do that, the internet still comes back on, and if you have your funds custodied safely, your Bitcoin is still not going anywhere because there's still a record of everything on the blockchain.
And that's why I still own all my CDs.
Great. And you know what else? If something like that were to happen, that would justify CBDCs even more.
If there's no electricity?
No. If a cyber attack occurs and like everything gets wiped out, they'll say, "Well, here's your central bank digital currency."
Right.
And the only way to opt out of that, if the money does go digital, is to be able to have a monetary system that you have self custody and control over, and you run your own node. And if you're using and there are plenty of privacy, there are plenty of ways that you can give money privately in a way that's KYC free, that you can still function independently to preserve your privacy. And it's not about like avoiding taxes or doing anything illegal or nefarious. It's just There are
paying
bad,
only what you're legally
No.
obligated.
No,
to
it's
pay.
not even that. It's about the fact that hackers hack into things, and you just want to protect yourself from hackers hacking into your things.
Well, I think your
That's
best
all.
investment.
You know what I mean? Like that's all that it's really about, right? It's just protecting yourself from like getting your own data and getting things hacked. And I think that's not that there's nothing like nefarious about that. It's just something that everyone should be aware of, right?
Well, I'll say this as I burn up in this
It's climate change. We need social credit scores.
your best bet is investing in yourself, learning skills, and not being a sponge on society. Learning how to do things, a lot of different things. There's a lot of different things you can learn.
I have
how
a
to
garden.
Do. Having a garden, learning how to do plumbing, learning how to build things, learning how pulleys work. There's all kind of things that you can learn that don't. Some things do take electricity,
Your local
some
farmer.
things don't.
You know what? They're gonna put bird flu and do all this stuff.
Yeah.
Well, there's a million small farmers and ranchers in Austin, and you know what? Don't go to Whole Foods or Central Market. Go shake your rancher's hand and start buying directly from those people.
I buy my meat from Lockhart. I get my eggs from Fluffy Bottom Farms.
We have a farmer out in Llano that we go to, and we get my raw milk from 4E Dairy, and we have our garden, and we're doing all of that stuff. And I'm going to learn how to hunt, and I can catch my own fish, and I do all that stuff.
Bird flu is an attack on raw milk. That's what they're using bird flu to attack. They're saying it's in the raw milk, so you can't have this milk. They're going to try to outlaw raw milk because of this. Watch.
Well, you know what? That's why people like me got to get ahead of it with the culture jamming, and there's got to be a sense of focus and unity. And the reason that we defeated the COVID propaganda psyop and there was no new world order is because we were unified. And all this groiperism and all this shit with people like Nick Fuentes and even like Stu Peters and all this stuff, it's designed to divide us and make us fight with each other and create distrust amongst ourselves so that we're more fragmented and less likely to fight this next psyop that's happening.
Well, and I don't necessarily think either one of those guys are bad. I think they're trying to do. They're in the flow of whatever they're doing, but I also think they've put out in the past. They both put out good information, and
some.
And I think
I think Died Suddenly was a pretty good movie, and I think Watch the Water I heard good things about. Okay, like I'm not saying that, but this guy openly, even he goes on Alex Jones' show and openly calls for people to commit like random acts of violence. It's like the most fed shit that you could do. And then people like Fuentes is like their entire. If you look at their followers, they have the high and there's documents to prove this. They have the highest presence of bots that are following them, and all of a sudden now this guy comes back on Twitter. Now this guy gets super popular right during an election year.
People doing it?
I think that the amount of bots that are following and interacting with people like that is not organic, and it's designed nefariously. And even if
I see a lot of bots following the guy who wears the beanie cap. He was on
Pool.
No, not Tim Pool. He's the guy from Alaska who's supposedly a paramedic. Says he's a paramedic, and he's picking up people, and he's worked on COVID. And every time he comes on, he's the paramedic. Every time he comes on and says something about how he's seen people do this and do that, but he can't seem to get his other people to get on video. But we had him as a guest today.
What's his name? Baked Alaska?
No, it's not Baked Alaska. No, this guy actually seems very sincere. But there's so many accounts that have MD in the title that come after this guy every time he talks about the shot or anything like that, because he seems to be getting people to listen because he's like, hey, I'm on the ground, this is what I'm seeing.
Yeah,
I'm seeing this, and those types of those bot accounts, but are those being run? Those aren't being run by groypers or anything. I think that's being run by. I think there's a system that is deciding to put. Maybe they're deciding whether Nick knows it or not to make Nick a focal point of contention, so more people are arguing with each other.
That's what I'm
but
saying.
It has nothing to do with,
that's what I'm saying. I don't think
he's running bot farms.
No, I never said he is running bot farms at all. I'm just saying that you could be a psyop and not know that you're a psyop.
A lot of people think that girl's a psyop.
I'm going to talk about this in my new Twitter space called Psyops with Stranger, and I actually want to message her about coming on to talk about this. I think that she may be a psyop, but you could be a psyop without realizing that you're a psyop. And sometimes a psyop is a psychological operation designed to divert the public into thinking and communicating in a way that the people designing the psyop want you to communicate and talk about, right? Or to divert from an issue that the public doesn't want talked about. And that, by definition, you are kind of fulfilling the role of what a psyop is. Whether she knows it or not doesn't matter. Like I said, I'm sure she's probably really nice and really cool. And I think that one way for her to get rid of that narrative is she should be using her platform to amplify people like Hernando Arce or Anthony Rubin whenever they're making really poignant videos doing real journalism. Now you got double the amount of followers as Anthony Rubin, and you got our Muckraker News, and you got almost 10 times the amount of followers as Hernando. Use your platform.
And those guys are really working.
They're working
use
hard. Your platform to amplify.
Sweat equity.
Yeah, use your platform to amplify them. If you're making money from this, give a little bit of money to help those people do real journalism. Give back and make and understand that fighting the New World Order is a team sport. You do that, you're not. You may have been put there to be a psyop, but then you're no longer a psyop when you do stuff like that.
Well,
if that makes sense.
Sure, you can always break your programming, break free of your conditioning.
Break the program.
There's always ways to do that. You just have to realize you are being conditioned. In which way? Maybe you just go, hey, I'm going to stop doing what I'm doing and just turn 180, and then you'll see. One, you'll see if you're doing the right thing because you'll start getting attacked from the people that were supporting you.
Yeah, exactly. And listen, I could have thought that I was maybe becoming a psyop because of all the videos I was making and the fact that I was getting a lot of engagement and stuff back in 2022.
What were you doing?
No, with all the council meetings, and I'm still doing all that, right?
Yeah.
But like before the 2022 elections, everything was like, no, we got to be. It's all to the right.
Right.
We got to get Democrats out of office.
That was kind of a fad though. Around those times, going in and talking to those because
I'm still doing. I think it's still important.
Primetime 99 was doing it.
He's the one that told me to do it.
Yeah,
you know that, right? He told me to do this,
and it worked. I mean, it's a great way to.
It changes the culture.
Also zero production value.
I know.
And we've come to the time in our
Yes.
society where the shittiest production value is the best production value.
Yes.
So the wobbly vertical screen video is now more important than the nightly news camera.
And
that's $400,000.
it's all recorded publicly, so you can just screen record from the public.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah.
Yeah,
And you have good audio. You have pretty decent audio, and you have the cameras already. You don't have to do anything.
But
you
he
don't have to set
really,
anything up.
like
It's
those
just
videos
done.
literally changed our culture. Like if he didn't make those videos, our government and our way of viewing things would still be back in 2020.
They'd still be taking themselves seriously. And
Yeah,
I think
so
he taught
really-
people, you and him and Owen going in there, taught these people not to take themselves so seriously in terms of.
The devil hates being mocked more than anything in the world.
There you
and
go.
that's what we were doing.
Yes.
And it's important to continue doing that. And I think ultimately with people like that,
Just checking to see.
eventually it becomes actually. Yeah, we're gonna wrap up kind of soon. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I want to go to the gym and all that stuff too. Okay. The importance of people like that is eventually like you cannot do like even with the meetings and the confronting politicians, like you can't do that for a long period of time. You can't. Like you're running a very fast track. It's like a comet. A comet can't shoot.
It's not a career.
Shoot up forever. It's temporary.
Right.
And if you're doing something that's this powerful, you have an obligation to this movement to bring on a successor when you feel as though your fuse is burning out.
Yeah.
And,
No, I totally agree.
Alex did a good job getting me to do this.
Mhm.
And eventually I'm kind of feeling like, especially with everything I'm seeing online and like, and I don't want to harp on this stuff, but like there's a lot of Jew hatred and I'm fucking Jewish. And I'm like, dude, do I really want to give sugar to ants and do all this other stuff when it comes to this? Like I'm not worried about being physically attacked or anything like that, but it is kind of like off-putting and making me annoyed and making me less motivated to do certain
Hey,
things.
I'm a fucking white male.
I know. I'm not even white to the white. I don't even know what I am, right? But like, anyway, dude, what I'm trying to say is that maybe that's also part of the psyop because maybe I'm like, wait, if I'm feeling less motivated, maybe that's what it's designed to do is to make people like us less motivated.
You keep beating
right?
your head against the wall and it's not feeling productive. And
Yeah.
Right.
So that could be one thing. But ultimately, if I'm feeling like, hey, man, I want to segue into something else. I want to do more serious podcasts. I want to write more. I want to make musicals.
Then do it.
Yeah.
Find what
you
you
know
love
what? But
and
you
do
know
it.
what? Before I do that, I have a responsibility to find somebody else to carry my torch.
Yes, but not necessarily like right when you want to leave. That might happen 2 years down the road. And you're like, oh, hey, I can help this guy because I've done all these things and I can give him the right information.
That's true.
Believe me, what you need to be doing is leaving yourself open to possibilities, leaving yourself open to seeing that person. And it might not be, it might not happen. Like you might not be able to pass the torch to him right then. You may have to relight the torch and find it, in your Bilbo Baggins treasure chest. You open up, here's Sting, here's the fucking Mithril. Let's go. Now we're gonna go take the Ring of Power.
No, I have a lot of videos that I want to start
destroy.
making these next couple weeks, and it all of a sudden started hitting me. I microdosed on some mushrooms yesterday, and like,
Well, I'm about to start the 3rd season of Grunions. Have you even watched the first 2 seasons of Grunions?
Is.
It's my puppet show. It's
yeah,
political
okay.
puppet. Yeah. You didn't know
Where
I did that?
Where do we find Grunions?
Well, you can go on YouTube and find it. You can also find there's a playlist on the War Room channel on Band.video.
I want to make a musical.
No, you should.
No. Listen, I've talked about this, and I hope nobody takes this idea from me, because I want to make. You know how Disney on Ice?
Okay.
I want to make Infowars on Ice.
First, we have to learn how to. Alex Jones on Ice would be the.
I
he would
really
get
want to
hurt.
make. I want to make an
Oh my
Infowars
God.
musical,
Oh my God.
and it's about a frog who's coming to terms with his sexuality.
Right. Okay.
But because all the globalists put all the chemicals in the water that turned him gay.
Yeah. Okay.
And so like.
Well, I'm opening up the 3rd season of Grunions with a musical number, just so you know.
I have songs. Can you use one of my songs?
If you give me the song, I'll figure out a way to write it in.
I have the George
right-
Soros. You know that John Bound made my George Soros music video?
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah.
I
Have you
did not
seen the
know
music
that.
video for
I
it?
saw it a while back. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know.
George-
I didn't know Bound made it.
Bound
That's
made
great.
the George Soros music video.
Bound's a good musician.
Bound's
too.
the man, dude. I
Yeah.
love John Bound. But anyway,
Yeah.
dude, I want to do that, and I want to make like a Star Wars like film, like a Star Wars musical about like the force of cancel culture, where it's like written from the perspective of the Empire.
Well, shit,
It's written. No, it's like the evil. It's from the side of the evil empire, and how like you need the Death Star to help protect Ukraine. Like you need the Death Star for national security and like.
You
shit
had
like that, you
like
know?
this Acolyte series, which I haven't even watched yet. I've kind of written off Star Wars because everything's been so bad, But as a kid, I grew up with it. Like I grew up.
I gotta watch all of it. I gotta rewatch it.
But there's this Acolyte. There's this show called The Acolyte. It's got like a 15% rating for people. Like not the critics gave it 80%.
Yeah.
The people watching it, who 4 million watched it in the first weekend, gave it a 15% Rotten Tomatoes rating, which means it sucks. It's terrible, and it's they've changed this to try to be a culture thing, a woke.
That's why I gotta watch it. I gotta actually watch it because maybe that can help you with my music. That can inspire me for my musical.
Help you. The scenes I've seen are these witches all chanting something, and I'm just like, are you serious? This would never be in any
these
George Lucas.
50 years ago, they would be villains in the Empire. They'd be with the Empire.
They would be. It's mixed Star Wars at this point. You might as well call it mixed Star Wars.
Mixed Star Wars?
Yeah, that's what it is. It's mixed Star Wars.
Oh my god, dude. I have a question too before we wrap up.
Yeah.
Does Alex Jones plan on making a sequel to the video game or incorporating add-ons?
I'm pretty sure that it's not really his call because he doesn't actually make the game except lend his voice to it. But we've already talked about, I think, 10 more levels.
Nothing. And I want to say this, not to promote myself.
Yeah.
But nothing would make me happier, make my little boy dreams come
For
true.
you to be on it on a maybe.
Yes, I want to be an unlockable character. I want to be on the pedicab.
The pedicab.
Yes.
Taking Alex somewhere.
Yeah.
Alex,
get
you
in.
look tired.
No, hey, get in. We're fighting socialism.
There you
We're
go.
fighting communism. Let's go. And then all of a sudden I get in and I start playing my rap songs.
Oh, okay.
And the music.
The music.
The
can change,
notes
yeah.
kill all the bad. Dude, the notes start killing all the bad guys.
Hey, the good thing is I do know the guys who are making it, so I'll be more than happy to throw that idea their way because they're really good at incorporating, a quick idea, a 2-line idea, and they're like, yes, we can make it happen, and yeah, they can.
I'll have my
and they're
Captain
definitely
America. There'll
good.
be a video like with me in my Captain America mask because bird flu might come out.
Yeah.
And it'd be like the bird, when they have the bird flu episode, I'm wearing my mask because of bird flu.
Oh, we got to fight Deborah Burks.
Yeah, and I'm just
her
like,
scar.
Get in. We're fighting socialism. I'll be like, just because I'm wearing a mask doesn't mean you need to, and that just becomes, like I say all these lines, and I'm just like, let's go, and I start blasting my Biden song like Joe Biden molest, and all of a sudden the music notes just start
blasting people.
Yeah, I start blasting people with notes.
Well, they definitely need lots of music, and these things take a lot of music to make them run. So, but yeah, I mean, I'm almost positive it's in the works. I don't know. I haven't talked to those guys in a while. Because we didn't know what things were going on with us,
Dude.
but now it looks like there's sort of a stabilization.
I would love that. My liberal parents would be so proud of me.
I have liberal parents too.
They're cool though, man. You know what I'm thankful for though, despite the fact that I haven't blown up as much as I would have liked to with everything.
Yeah.
I'm thankful that I'm financially better off, have my job, never got a poison shot, and still have a really good relationship with my family despite the political differences.
It was
And
weird.
I'm very happy
The
with
first
that.
Thanksgiving when Trump got elected was very weird in my family, but since then it's all gotten better. And at the end of the day, your family's your family.
Yeah.
And but you can't pick your family, but you can pick your friends. So that's what you do.
Exactly. And the most important thing is build a solid foundation, and that's it. And just have an open mind, get a closer relationship with God, and make sure you're putting food that God wants you to eat into your body, and then everything kind of works.
Hey, what if this didn't record at all?
That's deep state sabotage. Don't even put that out there, bro. Come on, stop. All right, Rob, how do we get a hold of you?
At Dew's News, DEWSNEWZ, and check out Grunions on YouTube or on as a playlist on Band.video.
Amazing, dude.
GRUYONS, Grunions.
Grunions, I'm excited. I'm going to show you the puppet show I did with my friend before we leave.
All right.
Thank you so much.
GRUNYONS. GRUNYONS.
Grunions.